Our next speaker is Aunty Lois Peeler. Now, Lois is a recognised elder of the Yorta and Wurundjeri people. She's a passionate educator and leader, and she's the Executive Director and Principal of Worawa Aboriginal College, which is the only boarding school catering specifically for young Aboriginal women. She's also one of the original members of the Sapphires, the all-girl singing group from the 1960s, whose story was recently made into a very successful film. And she's also acknowledged as Australia's first Indigenous model and TV presenter. She was also named Senior Victorian Australian of the Year back in 2017 and was a finalist in this year's Australian of the Year Awards. Would you please make Aunty Lois welcome? Thanks.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Can I begin by acknowledging the Dja people as the traditional owners of this country, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. Let me say I'm delighted to be a participant in this Talking Justice Forum, and I really thank the organisers for the invitation. To me, it's particularly meaningful as we prepare to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the 1967 referendum and the 25th anniversary of the historic Mabo decision, Sorry Day, and also coming up is National Reconciliation Week. Having accepted the invitation to speak at this forum as part of Law Week, I reflected on the historical circumstances of Australia's First Nations people. Dispossession, dislocation, cultural fragmentation and marginalisation has led to poverty and disempowerment that comes from being displaced from our lands. Our internal law and our traditions, and has led to current crisis in which many Aboriginal people find ourselves. High unemployment, poor health, high mortality rates, low educational attainment, and high incarceration rates. These have become endemic in Aboriginal lives. So on any social indicator of well-being, health, education, housing, employment, civic participation, and the numbers in custody, you name it, Aboriginal people are always overrepresented at the wrong end of the scale. My upbringing included family life on Cummeragunja Aboriginal Reserve on the traditional lands of my mother, the Yorta peoples. The Yorta have a long and remarkable history of political activism. And on my paternal side, my grandfather was a Yarra Yarra man who as a child lived in the children's dormitory on Corrindurk Aboriginal Reserve. This too has a remarkable history of political activism. William Barrack led Corrindurk residents in a campaign of delegations, strikes and protests and letters to the press, expressing their concerns to the Victorian government and the public about changes to Corrindurk Aboriginal Reserve. And then in 1938, on the 26th of January, the Aborigines Progress Association, led by William Cooper, Jack Patton, William Ferguson and Doug Nichols, held a day of mourning to highlight the appalling conditions of Aborigines. The organisers used a statement which, amongst other things, stated, "We do not wish to be left behind in Australia's march to progress. We ask for full citizenship rights, including old age pensions, maternity bonus, relief work when unemployed, and the right to a full Australian education for our children. We do not wish to be herded like cattle and treated as a special class. And as regards the Aborigines Protection Board of New South Wales, and white people in the cities do not realise the terrible conditions of slavery under which our people lived in the outback districts. This was in 1938. So I grew up surrounded by strong men and women who led the fight for civil rights and social justice for Aboriginal people. There was a strong belief that education was the key, and I still have that belief. Education of not only Black Australians, but also educating the broader Australian public of the conditions under which Aboriginal people were forced to live at the time. So I chose to focus on education as a means of improving the situation of our people, providing opportunities for our youth. As you've heard, I currently hold the position of principal at Worawa Aboriginal College. I'm also chair of the Regional Aboriginal Justice Advisory Committee of the Department of Justice and Regulations. That's in the Eastern region. And that's where Worawa Aboriginal College is situated, in the east. So Worawa is a boarding school that has been delivering education to Aboriginal youth for over 30 years. And during that time, it has built a comprehensive understanding of the needs of its students, and many of whom have not succeeded in the mainstream. And they come from some of the most disadvantaged communities in Australia. My work and the work of my sister Hillis Maris, the founder of Worawa Aboriginal College, was to create transformative experiences to prepare Aboriginal youth for life and work so they may shape their own world. We already held within us the world's oldest living culture, with all its meaning and all its complexities. We understood our own significance, but we're not allowed to express it. So Hillis knew what we needed for our school, so our culture could be held as precious and central to all learning. The school system at the time shunned our people, ignored our culture, our history, and our being. Instead of making it the bedrock of any additional cultural understandings, it made it something peripheral at best, but shameful at worst. This was the impetus for my family's passion for our own place, meeting our needs, our own curriculum, and our ways of knowing, doing, and being. As an Aboriginal woman, having had personal experience of living in harsh conditions, I have first-hand experience of the disadvantage faced by many of the young women that present at my school. My personal experience provides a sound basis to address issues that our girls present with. So it's a boarding school, but the families of the students at Worawa Aboriginal College are means tested against AB study requirements for eligibility under home conditions. So as a result of such testing, many of the young people who meet that criteria may be from families or communities experiencing one or more of those common identified stress factors. And it's sometimes characterised by family breakdown and a whole range of social dysfunctions. So recognising and redressing the effects of those factors with strong well-being and residential support is central to the Worawa model and a critical enabler of engagement and educational success. Indeed, Worawa is in a unique position to address these challenges. With a relatively small student cohort, a low student-teacher ratio, and a commitment to personalised learning plans in a boarding school environment where high levels of supervision and encouragement are able to be provided. Worawa can provide new opportunities for educational success and build in our students the confidence, skills and understandings to shape learning pathways for themselves beyond secondary school. At Worawa, we believe in the ripple effect, that the young women who come to Worawa from communities all over the country will return to those communities with their new skills and act as agents of change. The college values are relationship, responsibility, respect, and rigour. So we place emphasis on a strengths-based approach, building a culture of well-being, changing the culture of violence, building resilience, positive relationships, shared beliefs and values, that resilience and optimism. And restorative justice is embedded in this college's practice. For us, restorative justice reflects the traditional way of our elders in yarning about things to find a solution. And sometimes that might take a long time. We have a saying, if you speak, you own it. So we want the girls to own their behaviour. At Worawa, we encourage students to take responsibility for their behaviour, to take ownership of their actions, to be respectful and practice deep listening to the other person. Reflecting on the issue at hand and coming to a resolution, and then it's finished business. Once the restorative justice session is completed, the matter is finished. This process works well in our school. My role as chairperson of the Eastern Regional Aboriginal Justice Advisory Committee involves initiatives aimed at preventative and diversionary measures for Indigenous youth from involvement with the justice system, and issues arising from the Royal Commission into Aboriginal Deaths in Custody, which was released in 1991. We're still dealing with many of those things. But the preventative and the diversionary things are the things that I'm personally very engaged in. As we know, the Royal Commission highlighted both the overrepresentation of Aboriginal people in the youth and adult justice systems and the accelerated rate of progress through the justice system by many young Aboriginal people. The findings included the need to devise strategies designed to reduce the rate at which young Aboriginal people are involved in the welfare and criminal justice systems. So we're all aware that poverty, low educational attainment, unemployment, history of family breakdown and higher representation of rural and remote youth feature consistently in the youth justice profile. My work includes advocating for an enhanced approach to well-being for our children. I'm wanting to see more forensic mental health care and an approach that is therapeutic rather than punitive. I am looking to share the positive experience of restorative justice at Worawa Aboriginal College in working with our youth in the justice system. Thank you.